Hello crafty friends, it's Jess from jesscrafts.com, and today I'm here with another modification to the Fawn Woodland Critter Huggers die. So the original die makes some adorable little critters, and you've seen me modify them a few times. So the original die has some suggestions on the back. The Fawn website has even more ideas, but I wanted to show you today how you can use the dies from the set to make a cow. This one was one at first I was like, I'm not sure how these pieces come together to make a cow. How am I going to make spots? But ultimately, I decided to use the flower to make the spots. And I wasn't quite sure how it would look, but in the end, I think it turned out really cute. So let's get started. I used the white base, and I'm going to add a pink tummy and some black feet. As mentioned before, I've shared a few other ideas. I've welcomed you all to give some suggestions for other animals you'd like to see, and you can certainly continue to do that. I hope to find a day to play around again and make some more different critters. And when I was die cutting, sometimes I chose to die cut with adhesive already on my critter, and already on my cardstock, and other times as I die cut I did not have any adhesive on my cardstock, partly because some of the elements hang off. So for instance, you wouldn't want adhesive on the back of his horns because they hang right off the paper. But most other elements you could just have adhesive already on the back. It's just a matter of whether or not that's more convenient for you. You could use liquid glue to attach all of these. I'm going to use my ATG gun and the adhesive already on the back, and the adhesive sheets I use for the back, or it's actually a roll of adhesive. It's from Elizabeth Crafts. Alright, so I've put on his hooves, and if you've seen the pig video, you've seen this before. And I'm going to do this for quite a few critters because I had decided to make a couple different farm animals. So you'll see some other videos featuring them. So in the pig video, I added the little hooves. I'm going to do the same thing here. I partially die cut the arms. So I just put down my big die with pieces of cardstock on either side and just cut a little bit of the arms, not even the full arm, because I'm actually going to trim this up. So I layer the two arm pieces on top of each other so that they're exactly the same size in the end, and I lay them with the wrong side together, creating a little sandwich, line them up, and just trim them off. It doesn't have to be perfect or exact. And then I can put a little bit of adhesive behind them. This might be a time where liquid glue would be a bit better. But liquid glue also takes some time to dry, and whereas if I use my ATG adhesive, it'll be instantly dry and stuck on strong. So I will line up that little hoof with the very edge of the cow's arm. As mentioned last time, you could of course add a bit more detail. If you want it to look more like a hoof, you could create a larger piece and cut little hoof marks into it or something like that. But my goal is to do as little modifying as possible and show you how you can really use the pieces that are included with the die set to create these extra critters. So the mouth, I think, was probably the trickiest part to figure out how to do with just the die. However, I noticed that the piece that makes the raccoon eyes has kind of some bumps in it that are really good for mouths. And the way that I was able to modify it is I cut that just completely straight. That's just in the pink. And then I took the other eye piece, which has these much larger bumps, and I'm going to layer the two of them together to create a bottom mouth. And I found that that gave the illusion of some snouts, and I'm using this with some other critters as well. But I will have to do just a bit of trimming, so I will add some adhesive there, layer it on top, and I want to get as much of it as possible poking through. So I will just kind of very carefully bring it just to the edge. I want to make sure it's even on both sides, so I have to be a little bit fussy with it. Then just go in with my scissor and trim right behind. You don't even have to trim exactly. It's a rough cut behind there. Now to make the little snout nostrils, yeah, the nostrils in the snout, I actually used one of the choices for eyes. There is an eye that looks kind of like, it's a more feminine eye because of the eyelash, I think, but also it looks like a closed sort of winky type eye to me, and I'm going to use that to create those little bump nostrils. There's also, though, a smiley face, so let me show you what it looks like. These are the eyes. I'm taking those eyes and I'm going to make those the nostril pieces. However, there's also a little curved smiley, if I can put my hand on that. There you go. And they're pretty similar. So if you'd rather cut out these, that might be better because then you don't have to trim off the eyelash, but you can't cut two at one time. So to me, you know, they're both about the same amount of work, whatever you prefer. I also find it kind of tricky to keep track of that teeny tiny die. I have a magnetic bowl that I am using. It's like made for, I think it's made for like, you know, tool sheds. People keep their tools, they keep all the nails kind of together, and so here's what I'm doing for all my dies. I'm putting them in this little magnetic tray. And I've seen that a few different crafters have that, and I think I actually got the idea from Jennifer McGuire, but I just wanted to mention it in case you hadn't seen it in a while. So next up I want to lay down the eyes. My eyes I cut with some adhesive on the back. So I covered the whole sheet with the Elizabeth Crafts tape, and now I actually have the eyes kind of stuck in the die naturally. They just didn't pop out perfectly the first time, so I'm actually just going to place them down, and this is going to allow me to position them. I don't know if that was Lawn Fawn's intention. I kind of assumed that mostly they intended for you to be able to not have two tiny little round pieces, as those would be super fussy dies. But if you push the dies, you know, push the little die cuts through and lift it up, it does give you a pretty decent position on the eyes. They're a little far apart, so if you like your eyes, your critter's eyes closer together, you might not want to do that, but I did just want to show you that that was a way that you could, if you wanted, use that particular die. I'll add in some teeny tiny pink ears just for a little added detail there. Again, I chose to put the adhesive on the back, especially for these teeny tiny pieces. There's no way I'm putting ATG on these. And I use multimedia matte, which generally dries clear and matte, but it's actually, in my opinion, still a bit noticeable. So I prefer to use die cut with them, if possible. Okay, so back to the eyes. Sorry, I was talking about how to do the nostrils earlier, and then I just got distracted. I pull out one of the little eyes, and I just snip off the eyelash. Again, cut that with the adhesive already on the back. And I want the nose bumps not to be perfectly in line with the eyes. So I'm just going to scooch them over a bit. One little nostril. I keep calling them different things, but you know what I'm talking about. There we go. Trim off the little eyelash. And put it down. Again, use the smiley if you prefer not to have to fuss with trimming off the eyelash. So at this point, it's looking pretty close to a cow. I decided to add horns just because I wanted to show you that option. Of course, that makes it look, well, sorry. I actually don't know. I saw a lot of cartoon pictures of cows with udders and horns. And my mom and sister were like, it's a boy cow because it has horns. Do you guys know? Is that true? Like, do only male cows have horns? Do female cows have horns? Do they have different size horns? Like, maybe I should make them smaller. I don't know. But I wanted to show you the option with the horns because cows are depicted often with horns. And so you could kind of choose which one you personally would like to make. I did find that in most pictures, the horns were curved in. So that's what I'm opting to do. This is a tail detail die from the die set. Looks like that, and I just cut two of those I chose not to put any adhesive on them because they are going to be attached to the back. So it looks like that. And just the adhesive is back here instead. Okay, so now this part that's going to make him most look like a cow are going to be his spots. And actually, I just remembered I wasn't supposed to glue down the horns until I put that spot at the very top, because it's supposed to sort of, well, it doesn't have to, but I wanted it to overlap the horn area. So I should have not done the horns first. I can actually very gently remove them. And if there's any damage, it's going to be covered back up, so I'm not too worried about that. What's nice about the spots is you do have to cut quite a few spots. This is not necessarily the best one to mass produce because you have to run that little flower die through your die cut machine so many times. But luckily, when you trim off the excess, it leaves you with another spot, essentially. So now I can pull this spot over onto a different part of my cow, so that half a flower becomes a second spot, and it saves me a bit of time. And that was not as easy to do when I made the tiger. When I cut off the excess stripes, this is another video on my channel if you haven't seen him yet. When I cut off the excess stripes, they didn't work as well to create new stripes on other parts of the tiger because you want those pointed bits at the edge. But the cow doesn't have that problem, so actually I get a lot more. I thought it was important to have, so I talked about this with the tiger, like what is the minimum number of spots you can add? I think you have to add some spots to the face for it to read like a cow. So I'm going to make sure that I have at least 2 spots on the face. And then I think you need to have at least 1 spot on each arm as well. Again, that will help it to read more like a cow. And then anything extra you can do will help it to look even more like a cow. But I think those are like the minimum requirements for it to read as a cow. And so I'll just go through and continue to add more spots. Since I have them cut and they already have the sticky on the back, it makes it a lot faster and makes me more willing to add extra spots. Make sure that you're considering turning your spots each time so they're not all laying exactly the same way, but you're adding a little bit of interest. Like here on his arms, I put 1 spot at the top, so I should probably put the other spot at the bottom. And actually in this one, I probably should have put the spot on the bottom on this side so that it didn't overlap as much with that, but it's fine. It still looks adorable, but just to make the spots not look too consistent, you want them to look more natural, I suggest, you know, switching things up with little tricks like that. Okay, and then I'll probably add just 1 or 2 more spots here and here. And then the last final detail is just to make the mouth a little bit more prominent and interesting. I'm going to take a pink pen that I just happen to have in my craft room and trace along here. I want to be careful that I don't write anywhere else except for on the line. Go slowly if you need to in order to, you know, not mess up the line at all, because that would be pretty frustrating. You get through all that. You might even want to put that little detail on before you glue down all your little spots, just in case you make a mistake. Or do that detail before you glue the mouth on. And that way, if you just need to make a new mouth, it'll save you some effort. But anyway, that is it for my Woodland Critters cow hugger. Another modification of this die. Like I said, I want to share some more with you. I have shared a few. I'm skipping a tail for the cow. You could consider adding a tail. It might make it look a little bit cuter, but I found it hard to find anything in the collection that looked like a cow tail. So that's a personal choice. But I did want to acknowledge that, yes, I don't have a tail on my cow. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in more crafting tutorials, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I will leave you a link to the products I used in the video description below, including that I'll try to find this magnetic bowl for you guys too, if that's something you think would be helpful as you craft with this particular die set. Thank you so much for watching. Have an awesome day. Bye.